Hello everyone and welcome to the NinjaTrader webinar room. My name is Kelly and I work in the sales department here at NinjaTrader. I'd like to welcome you all to today's NinjaTrader orientation event. I'm very excited as it does look like we have a great crowd today. Before we get going, I do just want to do a quick test for audio and visual. So if you can hear my voice and see this slide that I am projecting, please type a Y into the room for me. Awesome. It looks like I am coming in loud and clear. Thank you, everybody. As we get started, I just want to put a poll question into the room. Just asking, are you currently using NinjaTrader? So if you can go ahead and fill that out. While everyone is filling out the poll question, I would like to let you all know that NinjaTrader is a free application for advanced charting, market analytics, automated strategy development, and trade simulation. The only time that we charge for our product is if and when you decide to trade live on the NinjaTrader platform. Now, if you are just getting started with us, NinjaTrader makes every attempt to remove hurdles to get started at no cost. Now, today I will be connected to our free data feed demo, which is offered from NinjaTrader Brokerage. This brokerage connection does use CQG data. Now, you can learn more about data demo sign-up information in the announcement box at the bottom of the page. All you need to do there is just click on that free trial link. All right, let's just take a look at our poll results here. It looks like we have a little bit of everybody, which is so wonderful. We have some that have downloaded and started using NinjaTrader, which looks like our majority. Then next is you have downloaded and haven't started using NinjaTrader. And then those that have not yet downloaded. We have a couple of you in the room. Now, for those of you who have downloaded and are using, or maybe even haven't started using NinjaTrader, this webinar is great. We're going to go over a lot of the different features of NinjaTrader, and so you can learn more about different things that we can do with NinjaTrader. And then for those of you that haven't even downloaded NinjaTrader yet, I would welcome you to download NinjaTrader. You certainly can. We have a link in that announcement box as well where you can download NinjaTrader. Or we also have, I'm going to be presenting a webinar later on today you can actually download NinjaTrader with me. We're going to walk through it together and get started with a free data feed demo as well and show you how to connect. So if you haven't downloaded, I would invite you to come to that as well. All right, thanks for filling that out, everybody. Now, before we get going, being that we do have a futures brokerage, I just have to read this disclaimer. It is important to understand that there are substantial risks in trading commodity futures contracts. You should carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you and will depend on your specific circumstance and financial resources. It is possible to lose all the funds deposited with your broker and could even incur losses beyond these amounts. Please inquire at brokeragesupport@ninjatrader.com for more information or for a copy of the CFTC full risk disclosure. Also, please remember that these training webinars are not a solicitation nor a recommendation, but simply educational in nature. All right, so these are just kind of our objectives for today's presentation. Now, our purpose of today's presentation is to give you a high-level view into the numerous capabilities of the NinjaTrader platform. So what we will do is we will be presenting a workspace, which includes many of the windows that can be used for various aspects of trading on the NinjaTrader platform. Now, I just want to let you all know up front, especially for those of you who haven't started trading with NinjaTrader yet, don't panic when you see the workspace. It might seem a little intimidating because we do have quite a few windows open on our workspace, but today what we're going to do is we're actually going to break down those windows one by one to take a look into many of the different features. So make it seem hopefully less intimidating by the end. Now, our goal is that while viewing this presentation, you can see that NinjaTrader can be as easy or advanced as you need depending on your trading. Now, today, like I said, we're going to be giving an overview. And today's presentation is actually just the start of a series of educational webinars. And so everything we're covering today, we're actually going to build on later in the week in additional webinars. So I just want to pop over to our webinar page here, just so that you can see we have a whole bunch of different webinars that is going to expand on everything that we're covering today. So we're going into an overview of everything, so we might not go into quite as much detail as you maybe want. And so for specific features, we have specific webinars for that. Now, we do know that everybody's weeks get busy, so what you can do on this page here is you can register for future events, and then what will happen is you'll receive a reminder about that upcoming event. All right, so let's pop back to our slideshow here. Now, today's session is going to last about 30 minutes, but I do want to keep this interactive, so feel free to put your questions into the room at any time. We'll also have time for some question and answers at the end. Even if I don't answer your question right away, just rest assured that I will answer by the end of the webinar. And if it is outside the scope of today's webinar, I may just ask you to send in an email to our wonderful support or sales team. Now, over the next few weeks, this is a new webinar series, so we're launching this new education events, but we're not quite finished with our new improvements, and we could certainly use everybody's help. So at the end of this event, what we're going to do is we're going to have a 4-question survey, which we'll put into the room, in which you guys can tell us how we want to, or how we can improve these webinars, because we want to make it so that they're useful for you guys. So now everyone who responds will actually be entered into a drawing for your choice of a 1-month free live license key or a NinjaTrader prize pack that includes a NinjaTrader hat and t-shirt. Now the winner will be announced this Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern in our NinjaTrader Help Desk live event. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm just going to show you real quick our workspace. So this is going to be the workspace that we are working towards today. So like I said, don't panic. We are going to go kind of cover these windows one by one. All right, so now we're going to bring up our live workspace. So this is just a picture of our workspace. And we're going to pop over just to our desktop. Now, again, so this is what we're going to be building on all week. This specific collection of windows is just called a workspace. So for those of you that are just getting started and may not know, workspaces are just a collection of windows that we can set up and then we can save under a specific name that you create yourself. So think of this kind of like your computer desktop and then Microsoft. So just basically imagine if you opened up your computer and every window is right where you wanted it. So that's what we can do with our workspaces. Now, depending on what you want to trade, you can also save and set up specific workspaces you created for that. So if I wanted to trade futures, I may have certain windows I want to use to trade futures versus trading forex. So I can set up a specific workspace with the windows I want for futures and title that whatever I want. So I can title it like futures workspace. And then for forex, I can just set up the windows I want for forex and save that as a specific setup. So it's all kind of giving you the freedom to do what you want. Now with our workspaces, I mentioned that you can title it anything you want. So what we titled ours is the Blue Dojo. So you'll be hearing that term throughout this series of webinars. We titled that just because we wanted to. Because remember, you can title it whatever you want. Now, another thing that before we get started, if you have already downloaded NinjaTrader, you may notice that the colors that we have on our workspace and on our charts and everything are not the default colors that you see within your windows of NinjaTrader. Now, what we've done is we've actually customized all these colors. We've customized so many features for our specific workspace. And again, throughout the rest of the week in our future webinars, we're going to show you how to customize this for yourself. So stay tuned to those webinars if you'd like to learn more about these different features. All right, so now before we get started, I do see we have one question in the room from Jim. How do you tile the charts? Jim, more so today we're just going to be taking a look at an overview of all of these different features, but if you want specific help with that today, you can always feel free to write into platform support at ninjatrader.com, and they can kind of give you more details on that. Okay, so what we're going to be doing first is I'm going to take you through 3 different charting screens and show you some of the analytic capabilities of NinjaTrader. So we're going through 3 screens, but everything that I'll be showing you can be done on just one single chart window if you would like. Just for demonstration purposes, I wanted to separate these chart windows just to better show you the different features of NinjaTrader. So we can take a look at each individual one. So the first chart window we're going to take a look at in my workspace is in this upper left-hand corner. But I'm going to go ahead and expand this to full screen so that we can better take a look at these features. So what we are showing on this chart is that we can add indicators to our chart. So we can add our favorite indicators to our chart with just a few clicks. So in this chart, with this magenta line here going through the big part of my chart, I've added the exponential moving average, which is an EMA indicator, and what that shows is just the average between the high and the low for this specific time frame. So again, that's going to be this magenta indicator here on that big portion of my chart on the top portion here. So you can see that I have my indicator there. Now down below in this green and purple, I've also added the MACD indicator. Now MACD is just a popular indicator, but if you're not familiar with it, that's totally okay. We've just used this for demonstration purposes just so that you can see that we can add indicators on our chart. I'm just going to open up my indicator box. So what's really great about NinjaTrader is that NinjaTrader provides over 100 built-in indicators that you can use and modify in your charts. So this is just available when you first download NinjaTrader. So you can see these here in the upper left-hand corner. So they're all listed alphabetically, so you can take a look at what we have. Now, like I said, you can add it with just a few clicks. So what you would do is just double-click on the indicator you want, and then you'll see that it's added down here below in my list. So everything that's added here, if I click OK, would be added to my chart. Now I'm not going to add it today, so I'm just going to click Close. And so it's not actually going to add anything new to my chart because I just want to keep those two indicators I currently have. Now the great thing about NinjaTrader is that you're not limited to those indicators that we have preloaded. That's just available for you to get started in NinjaTrader. So if everything's there that you need, great. If it's not, we also have, you can connect to over 400 ecosystem partners, and many do provide additional indicators that can be added into NinjaTrader. So let's just pop back to our slideshow, just so I can show you, kind of explain a little bit more of what the NinjaTrader ecosystem is. So that is just a vast system of third-party ecosystem partners dedicated to creating indicators, add-ons, strategies, and education for the NinjaTrader platform. So there's many other great resources as you get started or even as you're already into NinjaTrader. All right, so let's switch back to our desktop. I'm going to go ahead and just minimize that chart since we're done looking at it. Okay, so we first took a look at indicators. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open up, or we're going to expand our second chart. So on the right-hand side of our screen, upper right-hand, we're going to expand this chart here. So that's the darker blue chart. Now what we're taking a look at here is just layers and how we can have multi-level time frame in just one panel. Now with NinjaTrader, what we can do is we can use layers to overlay objects in a chart. So within this chart, we're using different bar types. So NinjaTrader supports several bar types, and today on this top, so you can see these big boxes here, but then on top we have smaller boxes, and what those are called are candlesticks. So what we're doing is we're just taking a look at two different time frames, all within the same chart window. So this top candlestick here is just showing the ES, which is just a popular futures instrument, showing those candlesticks on a 15-minute interval. Now what we have that laid over are these bigger boxes behind it, and so that's just another bar type here. So we have our boxes that are on a 60-minute interval. Now this is just how we can increase the capabilities of your charting to match your goals. Now you'll also see in another magenta line, we have another moving average through it. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to go into detail later on this during the week in our Charting 101 webinar. So if you want to learn more about this, I would invite you to join that Charting 101 webinar. All right, so we took a look at our layers. So I'm just going to go ahead and minimize that window too, since we are done with it. And we're going to take a look at our last charting window for analytics that we're taking a look at here. So it's that one in the lower left-hand corner. And what we're taking a look at here is just how we can have multiple instruments in just one single chart window. So you can see that I currently have 3 instruments. with different asset classes and instruments. And so what that is our asset classes are just going to be your futures, your forex, and your equities. So just the different kind of types of instruments that you can trade. And then instruments themselves are just specific instruments within those asset classes. So for forex, that would be like a currency pair. For our equities, that would just be a single stock. So down on the bottom, I have an Apple stock. And then for futures, say we don't have a future in this chart, so let's go ahead and add one. So you can see how quickly we can add an instrument to our chart window. So I'm just going to go ahead and add the ES. Click OK. And then you can see that I added a fourth instrument to my window. So now we have all three different asset classes. So we have two forex currency pairs, we have a stock here, and then we also have a future. Now, people do this because they may look at different instruments depending on what they're trading, and sometimes use it to compare instruments. Now, for example, some people may look at the future versus just a cash value index all within the same charting window. So for us, we took a look at three different asset classes. So you can kind of fit this, again, just to fit your own trading needs. Now, if you have any questions as you're going along with NinjaTrader, I love this feature of NinjaTrader is that wherever you are, you can hit the F1 key on your keyboard. And what that's going to do is it's going to take you to the NinjaTrader help guide. And the greatest thing about this is that whatever window you're in, that's the window that it takes you to. So I'm in a charting window right now, and I hit the F1 key. And so it's going to take me to the chart section of my NinjaTrader help guide. So if I have a question on charting, it's going to at least get me started in the right direction, and then I can narrow down what I'm looking for from there. So really cool feature. That's, again, the F1 key on your keyboard. Okay, so I'm just going to minimize this chart. So what we just took a look at there was just three different charts with three different features. Now that first one we looked at shows you how we can add different indicators to our charts. We did discover that we have over 100 indicators preloaded, but we can always connect to one of the over 400 ecosystem partners. As I said, many of them do provide additional indicators you can add within NinjaTrader. Now, the second one just showed us how we can overlay bar types in a chart and how we can also view different time intervals. Now, the last one shows how to display multiple instruments within a chart. And we took a look at just how quickly we can add an instrument to our own charting window. Now, all of this is great for your own technical analytics. However, we haven't taken a look at trading live yet. So that's what we're going to take a look at next is going to be our order entry. Now, before I move on, though, I just want to see, is everybody following along? Does anybody have any questions before we get going on to the next section? All right, I do see we have one comment in there from Michael. Just started NinjaTrader, but do not have a data feed. Michael, what I would do is I'd actually invite you to the next webinar that we're going to have at 2 p.m. Eastern time, because we're going to actually walk through, you said you have NinjaTrader, so we're going to walk through downloading NinjaTrader, but then we're also going to walk through connecting to a free futures demo so that you can get that data within NinjaTrader. Again, just as a free demo to get you started. And then ultimately, once you are kind of ready to trade for a longer amount of time or ready to trade live, that's when you may need to connect to a broker or data provider. But we can provide you with a lot more information in that webinar as well. Otherwise, we do have a free futures demo link at the bottom of the screen in that announcement box. Yes, that's going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, and Rob, how do you pull up a chart? All right, so I'm just going to show you real quick the very basics of opening up a new chart. And then, like I said, we're going to have a Charting 101 webinar, which is going to go into a lot greater detail. But we'll just show you the basics here. Is if you go to the Control Center, which is just your main window, but we'll just show you the basics here. Is if you go to the Control Center, which is just your main window when you open up NinjaTrader, and you select File, New, and then Chart, it's going to pull up this window so you can select the instrument you want. So if I want the ES, I'm just going to double click on that and it'll add it to my lower left hand window, and then once you're done you can click OK and it will open up your chart. Now again, for more information on charts, we do have a Charting 101 webinar later on this week, so I'd invite you guys to attend that as well. All right, the next question from Peter, how do you set up and name a new workspace? Peter, we're actually going to have a Workspace webinar as well, so we're going to go through a lot of these different features within our webinar series. So it's going to show you how to set up and save that workspace. Again, that's going to be our Workspace webinar. And so you can learn how you can set up and save new workspaces. Now you can also, if you want to know before that time frame, you can also email into platform support at ninjatrader.com and they can kind of give you more information at this time. Otherwise, like I said, we're going to have a lot more educational webinars going into specific features. Today we're taking an overview look, but for more details on how to do all of these that we're taking a look at, that's what we have all those webinars for. So it's kind of building on top of what we're taking a look at today. So we're trying to keep everything together to teach you all these different features. All right, if nobody has any more questions at this time over what we just covered, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to move on to order entry. If you do have any more questions, guys, just feel free to put those into the room again at any time. So as we started today, I mentioned that I was connected to our NinjaTrader brokerage free futures demo. So now what I'm going to do, just for demonstration purposes, is I'm going to switch over to the simulated data feed. And what the simulated data feed is, it's just purely fabricated data, but what it does is it just mimics the market that we're looking at. So you'll notice that this trend slider comes up, which just helps me move the market up and down. Now once we get our order placed here, you'll very clearly see the value of this displayed in just a little bit. Alright guys, so now I just want to let you know that we are going to be using some trading language in this upcoming section. So don't be alarmed, we're going to cover this, and if you have any questions, just let me know. So the first window that we're going to take a look at here is going to be our Superdome window. So this is on the left-hand side. This is why we minimize the chart so we could see things a little bit easier. So this is the one that has kind of our prices displayed in kind of columns here. Now the Superdome itself is an order entry window, which is just a display of market pricing. So this is where we can place and then modify our orders. Now it is a depth of market interface, and that's what DOME stands for, the DOM part of the Superdome. It just stands for depth of market. So what that means is that if you look at these columns here, so we have a buy column with numbers on it, and then we have a sell column with numbers listed as well. And so what that is those are just pending orders at that certain price point. So we have it up to 5 levels deep. Now, what makes the NinjaTrader interface super is that we innovated new features that allowed a trader to better accomplish their trading goals through the use of semi-automated orders, which is the basis for our advanced trade management, which I'm going to be showing you shortly. Now, what's great about the Superdome is that it's visually intuitive. So I love how visually understandable this is. You'll see more as I go through, but just as we get started, we can see here that the current bid price is listed here in blue, the current ask is listed in green, and then this yellow highlighted cell is just going to be the last traded price. So now if I go ahead and place an order, I just placed a market order. Now those orders get filled immediately. Now we can also place different orders, and I'm going to place them just so you can see them. So I just placed a limit order, and what that is it's just a pending order at that specific market price. So me and whoever else is waiting at that price point is actually going to add up and provide that market depth that we talked about. So now we can also move our orders. Let's just place a couple more. So I can move a specific order, or I can even just cancel out of a specific order. Now I'm just going to close out of all of them here. Now today, again, the idea is just to show you the capabilities of NinjaTrader. So for the Superdome itself, we have another 30-minute course specifically on this window. And it goes into a much higher level of detail than what we're covering today. And so that's going to be our Order Entry 101 webinar. So if you want to learn more about the Superdome window of NinjaTrader, I would recommend attending that Order Entry 101. Now I actually want to show you a powerful feature called Advanced Trade Management. Now I'll refer to this going forward as ATM. Now it's called Advanced Trade Management because this is where you can set your predetermined buy and sell conditions that the software is then going to execute on your behalf. So it's cool because the name is very literal to what it does. Now this is one of the features that our founder innovated and helped create the initial success for the NinjaTrader platform. So let's just take a look at how this is done. So now before you ever enter a trade or enter the market, you normally have kind of a clear idea of where you want to enter, where you maybe want to exit for a profit, and then how much risk you're willing to accept for a trade, which is what ultimately becomes your stop loss. Now, what you do is you're going to input that information into the NinjaTrader ATM, and then it's going to execute that for you. So this is where utilizing the speed of a computer over the speed of a human is going to give you an advantage because you cannot place orders as quickly as a computer can. So I've already created a strategy so that we can see how it works today. So I'm just going to select this from our drop-down menu. So you'll see a section that says ATM strategy. You can set up and save strategies and then select them from here. And then you can place your order. All right, now I was talking about how NinjaTrader is visually understandable. So if anybody has any guesses on what the green orders mean, you can go ahead and place that into the room. All right, so we have a couple answers into the room of buy. Yes, so what that is that's going to be our profit target. So that's where we want to exit for a profit. So what we can see here is we have the green is going to be our profit target, and then the red down here is going to be our stop loss. Okay, so we filled our target. So I'm just going to place that again so we can kind of take a look more in depth as to what's going on. So let's say I place my order. And here is where the value of the trend slider comes in. So if I want my market to move up, I'm just going to put that market up. And what that does is it allows me to test my strategy that I've created to make sure it does what I want. Now, as my strategy is running, another cool thing is we can still modify our strategy. So if I say got a little bit more greedy and wanted to move my profit target up, I can. And also, I can change my stop loss. So I can change the risk that I'm willing to take. So if the market's moved up and I want to move my stop loss up, I can and change the risk that I'm willing to take with my order. Now, you'll notice that once a profit target is filled, that's going to go ahead and also cancel out of the corresponding stop loss. Now, we can, like I mentioned, we can set up and save our ATM strategies. So if you have different strategies that you're using over and over, you can save multiple strategies. So I just saved one today, but you can save more than one if you want, and then you'll just select the one you want to use from the drop-down menu. So that's really cool. All right, question in the room from Paul. Can you also change those trades on the chart as well? Yes, and that's the next thing that we're going to take a look at. All right, so now before we move on to the chart, I just want to let you know that the NinjaTrader Superdome does have a ton of capabilities with this ATM feature. But what we do is we actually are going to try and provide this in more bite-sized chunks so it's easier to understand. And so we broke up more information on ATM strategies into 2 additional sessions. So we have an Advanced Trade Management 201 and then Advanced Trade Management 301 webinars. So if you want even more in-depth information that are kind of broken up into those bite-sized chunks, I would invite you to those 2 webinars. Now again, if you have specific questions, you can always hit that F1 key on your keyboard, and that's going to bring you to the help guide. Since we're in the Superdome, it's going to bring us to the Superdome section of the help guide. So we can kind of learn more there. Okay, so now everything that we just did within our Superdome window can also be done in our chart window. So what that allows us to do is we can have our charting analytics on the same chart or in the same window as our order entry. So it keeps everything all in one window for you, easy to watch. And how this is accomplished is through the NinjaTrader Chart Trader tool, which is going to be what allows us to place our orders directly on the chart. So let me just maximize our chart here. So you can see on the right-hand side that we have this toolbar. And so this toolbar you have not seen on our other 3 charts that we took a look at because we didn't have it enabled. So with this is what's going to allow us to place our orders. So let's say I just wanted to go ahead and place a buy market order. I can place a market order and it's immediately filled. Now I can also place additional orders on here, individual orders. Cool thing is we can modify those orders directly on the chart, just like we did in the Superdome. So you'll just click on it and click again to move it where you want. You can also cancel out of those individual orders, just like we did in the Superdome window. All right, so I'm just going to close out of everything here. And we're going to show you how we can place that same ATM strategy directly on our chart window. So I have an ATM strategy menu with the same options that I had before. So I'm just going to place that orientation, is what I called mine. And then I'm just going to place that order. Now you can see that I have it here on my chart, just like I did within the Superdome window. The same thing here, I can modify each of my orders here. So if I wanted to change my stop loss, I certainly can. We can also continue with our trend slider, which is, again, just going to allow us to test out strategies we've created in a simulated environment prior to you ever going live. All right, we're going to minimize this a little bit so you can see our Superdome window next to our chart window with our chart trader. So we're just going to place that order again with our ATM strategies, and you can see that we have the same on both our Superdome window, same orders that we have on our chart window. And so what we did is we actually linked these 2 windows together. So another feature of NinjaTrader, which we'll cover in greater detail in our additional webinars. But so what that means is that anything I do within my Superdome window is also going to change in my chart window. So you can either change it within your chart window or you can change your settings within the Superdome window. So whichever way works best for you. So this just gives you choice and flexibility and options as you're trading. So for example, people who are scalping as you're trading. So for example, people who are scalping might like the Superdome better, but people that are doing just analytics may prefer the chart over the dome. So it's all going to be based on your own trading needs and what you're looking to do. All right, so we'll just close out of our orders there. And now what we're going to take a look at is the next window, which is going to be our market analyzer window. It's in the lower right-hand screen. All right, so think of the market analyzer as a chart without the charts, but all the information is there. So what we can do with this window is we can use indicators and we can create alerts versus monitoring a chart. So this way you won't need the graphics of the chart window because you've already told the market analyzer when you want to be alerted. So it's going to let you know. So this way you can have hundreds of instruments and their data in the market analyzer window, which can't be done on a chart because we can't look at data for 100 different instruments all within one charting window. It's not that easy. And so with the with the market analyzer window, it is. We can list all of these. We can add indicators. This capability is what traders find beneficial and why we are one of the top day trading platforms. Now, many equities traders do find this useful, but you can also look at different asset classes again. So we have futures, forex, and equities all listed within this window. So it's not just limited to one certain type of instrument. All right, so I'm just going to put that window back. Okay, so what we just took a look at and then I will get to your question, Paul, is we just took a look at two different ways for entering orders into NinjaTrader. So we took a look at order entry with the Superdome and then also with our chart trader. Now we also took a look at and learned more about ATM strategies and how we can use these to get our trades into the market at computer speed versus our own human speed. And then finally, we took a look at the market analyzer and how we can have so much information for many different instruments within the same window, that same market analyzer window, which can't be done on a chart. Now, before we take a look at the last feature, I'm going to go ahead and answer Paul's question in the room. Paul, could you clarify the trend slider, please? Absolutely. So this little trend slider here is just going to allow us to move our market up and down. So this is with the simulated data feed. Again, this is purely fabricated data, so you can't trade with it. It's going to mimic the market that we're in, but let's say that I created a strategy, an ATM strategy, and I want to see how it works. I can go ahead and change the market up or down depending on if I want to see it hit my profit target or hit my stop loss. So you can kind of change it to make sure that your strategy is going to do what you actually want it to do. Does that make sense? Awesome. All right, so if anybody has any questions before we move on, feel free to put those into the room. Again, we just went over ATM strategies, chart trader, and the market analyzer window. So if anybody has any questions or any confusion on what we just covered, let me know so that we can go over it. If not, we will just move on to the final piece that we're going to take a look at today. All right, I'm going to take that as no questions, but if you do, again, just put those into the room. Okay, so the last thing we're just going to take a look at is custom development utilizing NinjaScript. So one thing that's really great about NinjaTrader is that we do have NinjaScript, and NinjaScript is based on the industry standard Microsoft C# programming language. So if you're a programmer, you can actually develop your own work, and this slide I have up is just kind of an example. Or you can work with a certified NinjaScript consultant. Now again, NinjaTrader has an entire ecosystem of developers and third-party add-on providers that have developed indicators and strategies, and they're always adding new items. So even if you don't know how to do it necessarily yourself, you can always get help from one of those over 400 ecosystem partners. All right, so we went over everything that we're looking at today, and kind of an overview of everything that we just covered is going to be, we took a look first at our 3 charting windows. And I'm just going to pull back up our whole workspace. So give me 1 second here. Okay, so we have this whole workspace up. Now what we took a look at is the first 3 charting windows for analytics. So we added some indicators to our chart. We showed how we can do multi-time series analysis and layers. We showed how we can have different types of instruments on one chart window. Then next we took a look at order entry, because we need to know how to enter live orders. And we took a look at the Superdome window and the powerful ATM strategies that we can add. We took a look at our chart trader, which also has those powerful ATM strategies. And then we took a look at the market analyzer window and how we can get so much data for so many instruments all within that same window. And then finally, we took a look at, just a brief look at NinjaScript and how we can add our own indicators and strategies. We've been working with one of the over 400 ecosystem partners. So everything we looked at has different powerful capabilities of NinjaTrader for analytics and then an order entry platform. Now with this functionality, the idea is that your requirements will never outgrow NinjaTrader, so you'll never need another platform again. Now my question for you guys is, did I cover everything I said I would during today's presentation? And if anybody has additional questions at this time, you can go ahead and put those into the room at this time. All right, I do see we have a question into the room from Paul. Can you layer indicators on the other charts at the same time? Yes, absolutely. So you can always add multiple indicators within different charting windows. So if I wanted an EMA indicator in one window, I wanted that MACD indicator even in another window, I can add those indicators in our different windows of NinjaTrader, or we can add them within the same window of NinjaTrader. So it's all going to depend on what you're looking to do. Again, I would invite you, if you want to learn more about the charts and how we can add things to the charts, we do have that Charting 101 webinar later this week. And so I would check out our schedule of our live events, and I would invite you to attend. Now, again, I just want to remind everybody before everybody heads out that over the next few weeks, we are launching those new education events. So today is kind of an overview of everything that we're going to be covering this week. So it's an entirely new webinar series that we just started. And so we're not finished with these improvements. So with our new improvements, we could use your help continuing to improve, because again, we want to make sure that these events are actually helpful to you guys and not just me talking on and on. Now, at the end of the event, we're going to have that 4-question survey in which you can tell us how we can improve. Everyone that does respond will be entered into a drawing for your choice of a 1-month free live license or a NinjaTrader prize pack that includes a NinjaTrader hat and t-shirt. The winner is going to be announced this Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern in our NinjaTrader Help Desk live event. Okay, I'm just going to wrap this up for recording's sake, and then I will continue to answer questions because we want to get this up on our YouTube channel so you guys can kind of take a look at it at your convenience. So today we are looking at the Blue Dojo Workspace, and again, if you would like to learn how to build this workspace or even others like it, I would invite you to join me in just a few short hours to learn the first steps you'll need to use these high-powered tools that I demonstrated today.